Welcome back to the AFL video. Obviously, you guys know we are officially now in the off season, and off season isn't really the best part. It sucks. The off season does suck at times because obviously there's no games. So the main thing you're doing is just reading articles, listening to videos, podcasts, whatever, or listening to me. But sucks, man. It sucks. But looking forward to next season. Very, very looking forward to next season, man. I did have the Tottenham players react to Hawthorne, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it, unfortunately. But you got who's the best AFL player of all time. Now, after this video, I'm gonna do some more research on it myself. You guys let me know who's your top number one best AFL player of all time. You guys let me know in the comments down below. Like, so I'm gonna do some more research after this. But anyway, let's go and start with the video. Don't forget to like and sub as well if you are new to the channel. And yeah, enjoy. And hopefully, all my Geelong fans, you didn't celebrate too hard after the game. Hopefully, you didn't go too crazy. Let's get it.
The AFL has had many talented players.
Also, shout out to the guy who didn't make this video. All credit goes to him. Yes, sir.
Throughout its time at the top of Australian sports. Cult heroes, legends of old, and young guns, all having an impact on our great game. But the controversial question must be asked: who is the best AFL player of all time? It's a loaded question,
That was an awful
which many say there is no
attempt.
conclusive
Awful
answer
tackle
to.
attempt.
But during this video, I'm going to make a case for 7 different players in being the GOAT of the AFL, and lay out all the evidence and opinions.
Who's
that
the
I
Michael
have on them.
Jordan
Remember
of
to
the
like the video
AFL?
and subscribe for more vids like this. And without further ado, let's get into it. The first player that some people may think is the GOAT of the AFL is Gary Ablett Sr.
Okay.
Let go by
We know about Gary Ablett Sr. Hell of a player. Hell of a player. But look how high he is compared to everybody else in here. Jesus Christ. Come on, jumping out the gym. Jumping out the
Hawthorn as a
gym.
youngster due to somewhat lacking enthusiasm for the team and
His
the big
son
city.
was just as good
Gary
as him. His son was
absolutely
really
exploded
good.
into an exciting young star at the Geelong Football Club and continued a stellar legacy well into his career. Known by his dominant goal-kicking ability, high-flying marks, and a superstar factor which followed him throughout a topsy-turvy career, Gary's career is the stuff of legends, with countless stories of incredible feats. He's one of the few players to win the Norm Smith medal on a losing team, kicking 9 goals in the process. Averaging 4 goals and 6 marks per game across his career, Ablett was the epitome of a superstar forward. He collected 3 Coleman medals across his years at Geelong and notched 4 All-Australian nods, leading the Cats in goal scoring 6 times. Gary played the game with ease and did things that no one had ever seen before. He also had an MJ-esque arc, where he temporarily retired, came back to the VFL and continued to be one of the best players in the league.
Hey, not everybody can do that. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody's built like Gary Ablett Sr. and Michael Jordan. No.
Some of Ablett's legacy include the fact that he never won a premiership,
That's
and the
crazy.
fact that he played
Jesus.
in an older era. Some swear he's the best, but can that be true without the biggest trophy in the game? One of the most exciting and mysterious players to kick off the list, Gary Ablett Sr. still remains as the best player of all time in a lot of fans' minds, still reminiscing on that nothing but godly grab in the autumn of 1994. The next player that can be argued for this position is Gary's son, Gary Ablett Jr. Gaz carried the Suns for years with limited help, and that may have led to his overall career not being viewed as highly as other players on this list. Certain injuries also impacted Ablett in prime
Plus, he had
years of his
that
playing
move
days.
to
On
Gold
both Geelong
Coast.
and Gold Coast, the Little Master showcased his supreme skills and always found a way to awe crowds and help his team win. He's one of the very few players to win a Brownlow on 2 different teams and did so with exceptional play. Averaging 25 disposals, 3 marks, 4 tackles and a goal per game as a rover, Gaz personally was one of my favourite players to watch growing up, just simply because he made the game look so easy. His award cabinet also
Get off
displays
me.
this, showcasing 2 premierships, 2 Brownlows, 8
Stiff arm.
All-Australian nods, 6 club
Stiff
best and
arm.
fairest, and 3 club leading goal kicker awards. Gaz could have been one of the very few 3-time Brownlow winners, but due to some injuries and Matt Priddis for some reason polling votes in 2014, this didn't happen, despite Gary trying desperately to carry Gold Coast to a team of worth. His venture to Gold Coast may be a slight knock on his legacy, due to them being a bad football team and not having successful seasons even with Gary on the roster. To be fair, not many players would thrive on a team that fresh and developing. Gaz embodies a player who is on another level to his competition, a player who embodies the know-how and skill needed in the modern game. He certainly makes a strong case within this conversation for the best player of all time.
If you had to choose between Gary Ablett Sr. or Jr., who are you picking? Who are you picking? Like I've never seen both, but just hearing, read about it. I mean, the dad does have a premiership, but what he was doing, but to have his son just as good. How many sport films do we see in which the dad and son were good? Yeah, I think the Ken Griffey's and baseball and a lot more. But you guys let me know. Do you guys prefer Ablett Sr. or Jr.?
Wayne Carey was an extremely controversial and exciting player during his time within the league. Noting his brief stint in Adelaide, Duck's best work was done in the blue and the white for the Kangas. With the great combination of shiftiness and strength at a key position, Duck helped to revolutionise the position as a whole. He took North Melbourne to 7 straight prelims in his time there and managed to win 2 premierships in the mid to late 90s. Averaging 16.5 disposals, 7 marks and 3 goals per game, it was more about his impact on the game that made Carey one of the best of all time. In his career, he won 2 premierships, 7 All-Australian nods, 4 club best and fairest, and 5 club leading goal kicker awards.
Jesus.
His impact on the game through contested wins and goals led to great team success, and he upheld admired leadership for most of his career until, certain events unfolded. His stats aren't too great, and he never won a Brownlow.
Wait, he took his teammate's wife? Bro took his teammate's wife. That's wild.
But his success at North
can
only be accredited to his redefining the impact of a key forward. Duck led North Melbourne to various final successes, displaying great playing ability and leadership for the most part. Chris Judd arguably has the best prime years of any of the players on this list, playing at a high level at both West Coast and Carlton across 2 different playing styles with great proficiency. Over his career, Judd dominated in 2 roles, as both a burst outside player to a contested ball beast in his later years, especially during his stint in Carlton. He ended up not just winning a Brownlow at 21, but winning a Brownlow at 2 different clubs, and winning a Norm Smith on a losing team in 2005, averaging 23
So how often do players still get the, I think it's called the Norm Smith, right? On the losing team. Okay, Gary Ablett Sr. and Judd both got that.
Disposals, 2.5 marks and 4 tackles per game, Judd won 1 premiership, 2 Brownlows and 1 Norm Smith, and achieved 6 All-Australian nods and 5 club best and fairest throughout his career. He thrived in 2 very different situations at 2 very different clubs, and allowed his game to adapt in a modernised AFL league. Certain injuries late in his career, such as an ACL, might have prevented him from earning the title of best of all time, and the fact that he only won 1 premiership doesn't help his case much either. But nonetheless, Chris Judd was an explosive player who optimised the modern game through an adaptation in play style, and is truly a player who sometimes gets overlooked when it comes to the best of the best. Rewinding through the years, Lee Matthews is a strong contender for the all-time spot, and one of the most common answers given by AFL fans. A legend at the Hawthorn Footy Club.
If you guys have not checked out my Lee Matthews, reaction, just look it up. It's on channel.
Lee was renowned for his skill, fierceness, and absolute commitment to the game. After all, he was nicknamed Lethal Lee, and had a ferocity for the ball expressed by very few.
Look at the freaking...
If you're in between Lee and the ball,
toilet paper
you're
on
in
the
trouble.
ground.
Matthews redefined what it meant to be a rover within the league, and being the most impactful player on the ground by far. Somehow, despite Lee's dominance in countless awards, he never won a Brownlow medal.
Wow.
One of the most surprising facts that I came to research in preparation for this video. This comes behind other shining career achievements including 4 premierships, 8 best and fairest, 1 Coleman medal, 1 All-Australian nod, and an inclusion in the AFL Team of the Century. It's also worth noting that he kicked 915 goals across his career, which is currently still the record number kicked by a non-forward. This is due to the fact that Lee averaged 2.7 goals per game across a 17-year career. He also averaged 22 disposals and 4.5 marks per game in his time in the VFL, putting up very solid numbers across the board. I wasn't alive back then, obviously, but it's safe to say that a lot of Lee's impact as a player couldn't be contained to a simple stat sheet. He's considered the GOAT by many due to his sheer dominance, the reputation he built as a competitor, and the 4 premierships that he won while playing, along with countless other awards. The fact that he lacks a Brownlow medal does hold him back in comparison to other candidates, but once his stats are looked at in closer detail, you would find it hard to believe that he did not come home with the award at least once. Similarly to other candidates on this list, perhaps playing in an older era with less teams hinders his legacy. where the quality of talent can be argued, but is
Yeah.
obviously lesser than today's league. Lethal Lee was a hard-headed superstar who put it all on the line every game. With one of the best resumes of any AFL player, it's easy to see why he received so much recognition as one of the best of all time. Now hear me out. Dusty Martin is definitely worth a strong mention when it comes to this conversation, representing the modern game to its fullest. One of the best to ever do it in a Richmond Guernsey, the sheer workhorse mentality of Dusty and a playstyle which combines skill and athleticism.
Okay, well, I knew how good Dusty Martin was for Richmond. Like, I know, like, a lot of you guys say he's one of the best Richmond players of all time, but I didn't know he was classified as one of, like, the best players ever. I didn't know he was that good. You know what I mean?
Has propelled him
My
into
God.
one of the best players of all time.
Young Dusty,
3 Norm Smiths,
without the
what
tats.
can you say? And with one of the best dynasties in recent AFL history,
yeah.
in a few years, Dusty has really put his mark on the league as a whole, influencing the game heavily. Averaging 25 disposals, 4 marks, 3 tackles and 1 goal per game across his career so far, Dusty has really benefited from his use at the Tigers, on the forward flank and through the mid. 3 premierships, 3 Norm Smiths, a Brownlow, 4 All-Australian nods and 2 club bests and fairest speak for themselves on a player's resume. And if an older player carried these honours...
So he won 3 premierships and won basically, MVP? So each time he won MVP. Psh.
I think that would be
Crazy.
held to a higher view from AFL fans. Dusty still has time to go in his career also, and is doing his best work in the modern game, where the competition and skills among players are at an all-time high. But what holds him back is that he hasn't really achieved that legend status yet, I feel, especially in the eyes of older fans. And it also can be argued that a large part of his success was the team surrounding him, as the Tigers have been pretty good in the past 5 years or so. But with trademarks such as the don't argue and a winning culture cultivated at the Richmond Football Club, it's hard to overlook Dusty as a modern candidate for this position. Ted Whitton is a player which may get overlooked by casual AFL fans. With a nickname like Mr. Football, how could he not be in contention for this honour? A Footscray legend and role model of the game, Ted possessed great all-around ability at key positions such as centre-half forward and centre-half back. Described as a prodigious kick, a flawless mark, and having unequalled ground and hand skills by the Sport Australia Hall of Fame, Whitton was ahead of his time, patenting the flight pass as a way of increasing his speed of play. In the last 6 years of an illustrious 20-year career, Ted's stats were recorded to a basic level. Per game he averaged 16 disposals, 5 marks and 1 goal. As this was obviously near the end of his career, it has to be imagined what Ted accomplished statistically between 1952 and...
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I'm like, yeah, those stats sound cool, but like, that had to be for like a certain time period, so... But thank you for, prefacing that was towards the end of his career.
1964. We can assume that would have contained some historical numbers, with it being known that he kicked 360 goals across this time span, in shorter than modern VFL seasons. Across his career, Ted amassed 5 club best and fairest, 4 club leading goal kicker awards, 3 All-Australian nods, 1 VFL premiership, and an inclusion in the VFL and AFL Team of the Century as the captain of the team, possibly being the best all-round player ever and possessing superb skills which were second to none at the time, are reasons that Ted may be considered as the best player of all time. Aspects of his career which may hold him back from this title include the era he played in. Due to the majority of Whitton's playing days taking place in the 1950s and 60s, certain aspects of his career may be exaggerated, and the competition he faced playing in the VFL may not be as substantial as the modern day league we know. The fact that only 1 premiership is present in his trophy cabinet is another variable which needs to be considered. Ted was an amazing player, who is a pioneer of the modern game and who rightfully deserves to be in this conversation. That wraps up my list of players who I think can be considered as the best of all time. Some honourable mentions that have yet to be spoken about in this video include Nathan Buckley, Adam Goods, Tony Lockett, James Hird, Dick Reynolds, Malcolm Blight, John Coleman and Robert Harvey, who all have their cases in their own right to be considered some of the greatest players ever.
Hey, again, shout out to Make It Rain Productions. Absolutely phenomenal video. This was very informative. Hey, I enjoy it because I'm gonna do some more research on this after this. I'm really engaged now. And since we have no games, I might as well. But anyway, hope you guys did enjoy the video. Hope you guys did enjoy the video. Don't forget to like and sub. Stay safe. See you guys later. Peace.